episode, and it is for the 2019 Super Showdown event. Introducing first, I am your host, Tony Van Gogh, and I'm joined by Callum Wiggins.
Hello.
And Robert D. Felice.
We're not kids anymore, guys.
What?
We're not kids anymore.
I still want to be a kid.
I left that show not being a kid.
Can I go to Toys R Us? No, that's not existing anymore. Oh no! Oh, I was going to make a joke and now I just got really sad. Oh, my heart, like, that hit me real bad. That's really awful.
That hit you real bad?
Oh, there's a lot of things that hit me real bad today. We're going to break them down here. Typical pay-per-view point structure, we're going to run down the card from top to bottom. And as far as, like, the appearances go, not as far as the good to the worst or something like that, but we will talk about the good and the bad. There were some good things here and a lot of things that I didn't really like. But I'm in a better mood than I thought I was going to be, and the better mood than I was for the majority of these bunch of hours. I will still preface this ahead of time by saying, that doesn't mean I'm in a good mood. I didn't get a lot of sleep, which that was already a great way to start off, and one of the first annoyances of the day for me was that we started off with the kickoff, and the kickoff was a pre-taped studio kickoff. The panel was Charlie Caruso, Beth Phoenix, and David Otunga, and they just did 50 minutes worth of, take a look at this match, this is what's happening, I think this is going to happen, did you guys know that this is going to exceed WrestleMania? The equivalent or exceed WrestleMania. They did it twice the first 3 minutes, and I was like, I'm already annoyed, like, I'm already tired, and I didn't want to hear this, and whatever. And it took until 50 minutes into the show for us to get our match, where it was like 46 minutes, or whatever the hell was that. I know it was at least 41 minutes in.
About 48 minutes in, because they had 11 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, so, pre-show wise, did you guys watch all that nonsense ahead of time?
I did, in fact, watch all that nonsense ahead of time, and wow, I sure know how to waste time.
I've just had a long day at work. I had to come home. I had to subject myself to 4 to 5 hours of a wrestling show I'm not particularly interested in watching. Of course, I didn't watch the kickoff show.
Yeah, you're so lucky. I'm jealous. Did that mean that you didn't watch the match itself as well?
I was back in time for the match.
Okay.
And I was interested enough because it's used as a revival, and even in this league, they can't have a bad match with each other.
Yeah, those two teams are two of the best tag teams they have in the company right now, and I really hate to be down on it, but the fact that this meant absolutely nothing, and nothing happened during it, and nothing happened afterward, just meant that this was meaningless.
Well, during this match, we got the first of what would be many mentions of how hot it was in the arena.
Supposedly 106.
It started at 106. I think it ended up around 101.
Fuck that, though. Like, no matter what. It was 80-something here yesterday, and I was already annoyed. You tack on 30 more degrees to that? No.
Really, credit to Michael Cole, Renee Young, and Corey Graves for being in full formal wear in that heat, probably having to pee at some point. Like, that's a hard job. And credit to them.
Well, credit to them, but fuck the company for putting them out there in that, like, having to wear that sort of stuff. Like, give them something easier to wear in that kind of heat. It's like, it's all about, like, presentations and stuff like that. Like, give them something that's a bit more free, like, free opening. I guess with Renee Young you can't, because if she showed a bit of elbow, she probably would have been stoned to death. So, just as a quick reminder of the fact of this is a hideous, like, deal they have going, and they should be performing in this country under the current conditions that they're running in. I mean, why not? We shouldn't lose sight of no matter how good or bad we think the show is.
Yeah, that still needs to be said.
How much did you donate to Sandy's charity?
I was going to donate. He hasn't started a new campaign. Yeah, he hasn't started a new campaign yet. So as soon as he does that, I'll do that. Otherwise, I'll feel hideous watching the show for the rest of my days.
Wasn't he supposed to have done that during the show?
Like as soon as the show started?
Yeah, and he said for some reason it had to be delayed. Which I wonder might have been
some reason.
Because yes, maybe Vince getting his ear saying, yeah, maybe wait until a little while after the show.
Well, yeah.
Otherwise, I'll get my buddy Donald to bomb Syria again.
All right, so we have attacked America. We have attacked Saudi Arabia. The world is still on fire, guys, no matter how good or bad wrestling is.
106 degrees makes sense. Why not, like, set up the commentary table in a different area? Like, they don't need to be ringside. Why not put them in a spot where they can be shaded? It's not like they don't do that on Monday Night Raw, you know?
Because, as you always learn to, you always have to come back to, Vince doesn't give a fuck about anybody.
It's a shame, because they could have been given, like, a box, and they could have just been out of the mix there, and...
They could have coal mined that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. You think coal mine had everything?
Well, I think, like, actually, like, glass box refracting all that heat into the...
Yeah.
Would be the best idea.
Less air circulation and stuff. Unless they would pump in, like, like, a little AC system or something like that. We're giving this far too much credit. It could have been just a, like, tent coverage kind of canopy thing, like...
I think we also have to add into this when we talk about just, like, overall design and the aesthetic side of things, like anything that's outside the actual just booking or ring work. These open-air stadiums, it's so difficult as a television viewer to really gauge how hot the crowd is.
Yeah, like, we'll talk about the crowd at different points, but for instance, like, the Strowman match. Didn't seem like they were really reacting all that much.
Well, that's a different case. I think that match just sucked. Actually, the crowd was a highlight for me. I thought, first of all, not putting the ticket series in big $500,000 sofas in the front row, and just kind of letting it more so be about the fans, did wonders to this presentation. This was the most regular pay-per-view feel that I've had from any of these three.
Yeah, that's true. You know what was an odd thing that happened here? I don't know if this has happened before, but if it is, then I guess it just doesn't get as much credit as I thought that it would, but they showed, for their whole promotion for Stomping Ground, they showed the 2 women's matches.
And the crowd popped huge for both of those matches.
Which, that, to me, was one of the better moments of the night.
That's a very positive indication that this crowd is ready to see women's wrestling, and they are willing to embrace it and actually want to see these... Like, it's clear that a lot of people are big WWE fans, and they watch the current product.
Yeah.
And they watch the women's matches, and they want to see the women's matches. And I think when we talk about Saudi Arabia, it is an awfully disgusting environment, but that is from the top down.
Yeah, I mean, politics are that type of thing. Politics is one of the hardest things you can possibly ever discuss with anybody, because it's like, everybody's going to be offended about everything. Same with religion, same with anything that it's like your beliefs are revolving around something. But I think the one thing for every government is, as bad as people are, the people in charge are the ones that are holding the responsibilities. And look at what's going on in America. Like, individual people are horrible people. That's the whole thing. But then again, when you've got individual people that are representative of a particular mindset, and they're in control of a country's point of view, it makes you look bad. So that's why, like, America looks really bad at certain moments. And that's why people still make fun of Germany, and they still do the whole, like, a bunch of Nazi things and stuff. And that's why, like, a bunch of people can't separate that when it comes to any country. I mean, people say, like, oh, the French, they're all, like, whatever. It's just, like, it's the same thing for everything. So the crowd itself, any of the criticism when it comes to a lot of the things with these types of events, it's really cool to see, like, the little video packages they had of, like, the little kids, and they're, like, real hyped about that. And you can see throughout the night, various points of this, the crowd was, like, beyond happy at certain things.
They were really excited to see all the matches, and it kind of made me feel bad as someone who gets this stuff like pretty feel like you're taking all this stuff for granted. I'm not giving WWE any sort of credit for the shit they do and so like the creative decisions they clearly make their product worse. But it does make you feel like are these guys just happy that they're even there and performing? Like, I feel like that.
Well, because if you don't get it that often, then it makes it all that more special.
Yeah.
Mansoor in an interview talked about not always getting the TV show over there, but always getting the video games, and I can speak to that. In the 2K games online, there's a lot of Saudi Arabian players, and they love their Roman Reigns, they love their John Cena's, they love Randy and CM Punk, as we did here. When Shane said best in the world, the crowd started chanting CM Punk. They were familiar with the product.
And that's really cool to see that stretches over to the women. And that pop that they got for that is like, that was one of my favorite parts of the night, which is really strange to say because it was just a quick graphic of, hey, we're going to have a Lacey Evans and Becky Lynch match, and we're going to have Alexa and Bayley. And it was like, that got a better reaction than anything, which I hope people are paying attention, and that means the next time around we actually get a women's match.
Well, we know that Alexa and Natty were there, and they didn't do a match, but they got to meet, kind of like Make-A-Wish, but over there, they went to hospitals and visited little girls. So they're getting there, you know?
But as we said earlier, it's the people at the top that are deciding it, and it's the reported to be believed that WWE was essentially pushing the entire day with the Saudi government to try and get an Alexa versus Natalia match to happen on the card, and they outright refused to do it. So it's the people on top that say that we can't have women performing in the ring because we're in second-class citizens. Like, it's their equivalent of thinking, like, in America, saying we've got to have two bears wrestling in the ring. Because that's it. Not just like inhumane or something along those lines, it's like, these are two second-class citizens. We can't have them in the ring with each other.
So I don't know why this popped in my mind. Well, I know why it popped in my mind because it's Bears, but this is a totally random aside. It has nothing to do with Super Showdown, but I just kind of wanted to talk about it because why not? It's fun. Did you guys ever see that thing where Kobayashi, the hot dog eating guy, was trying to out-eat a bear?
No,
I don't think that's ever... I mean, to be fair, like, you should really come up with YouTube feeds more often.
It really should, because that was amazing. It was like, I think, the second Glutton Bowl or something like that. Just one of those great moments.
For some reason, when he said Kobayashi, I'm like, is Tony about to drop some Japanese wrestling knowledge on us?
No, I'm going to drop a cup of coffee. Anybody gets that reference, that'll be amazing. Yeah, so the women thing, we didn't get a women's match, which that's a downer for sure. I like that tweet that, I forget who it was, somebody tweeted it or whatever, you guys had shown me, but the thing of like, hey, they stuck the women in there and Finn Balor's entrance.
Yeah, that was Ross Berman of ProWrestling.com and WrestleZone tweeted that out because, yeah, that's probably what they did. I would not be surprised if you learned like later on, yeah, they were partially in the Finn Balor entrance.
That's the kind of thing that I would do, and that's such like a salty thing, but I like that kind of stuff.
I would prefer if one of them was playing Sin Cara.
Yeah, so we had the whole kickoff. I had said before, the Usos number 5 should tie somehow into the Roman Reigns thing. It didn't. Just ended up being a match. The Usos won by pinfall. Completely skippable. And it's a shame because those two tag teams are much better than that. But that led into the first match of the official card, which was Seth Rollins defending the United States. I always want to call it the United States. The Universal Championship against Baron Corbin. And there had been a report ahead of time from Wrestle Votes that this was going to go on first, and that Brock Lesnar was going to cash in. It was going to be a DQ, and Rollins was going to retain. So I was really looking at that as like, oh, thank God, it looks like that's going to happen, and this is going to be amazing, and I'm really happy and I'm really excited. And we get this whole match with Corbin. And it ends in a really kind of strange way. It's Corbin starts arguing with referee John Cone, and Seth Rollins rolls him up. He gets a schoolboy victory that way, and afterward, Corbin lays him out with the end of days. And I'm thinking, okay, well, the match wasn't really all that interesting, but hey, at least they're going to do this thing. Brock Lesnar comes out and gets low blowed, and Rollins starts beating him down with a chair, and I'm like, they didn't ring the fucking bell. And then it dawns on me, and I'm like, oh, they're dragging this out more. And I have to admit, my whole perspective of this whole event just went to shit. From that point on, I was not invested in pretty much anything. I found it hard to watch the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 matches. I found it really a struggle. I started writing up all this, like, the low points and all the other kind of stuff. I was like, I guess I'm going to go take a bathroom break here and there. I really just, it completely drained my energy and annoyed the hell out of me.
First things first, credits Baron Corbin for wrestling in stupid corporate casual in 160-degree weather. I am not in the slightest excited about Baron Corbin feuds with the WWE officials. I don't want to see that. That can be done really well. It's like Triple H and Earl Hebner or something of that regard, but Baron Corbin feuding with referee John Cone or just referees in general is not something that I'm excited about going forward.
Slater?
Only if it leads to Nicholas being on summer break and defending his father's honor. In terms of the Lesnar thing, I thought Heyman slipping was a botch. I didn't realize for a second that was actually the setup for, oh wait, that distracted Lesnar, Rollins gonna punch him in the dick and beat the crap out of him. I like the angle, with the exception of I know that they're just dragging out the Lesnar thing, but I really did like the angle, and I like that they're allowing Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar to just have a rivalry, you know? Nobody else since Roman has gotten that, and I'm glad that Rollins is getting to beat up Brock Lesnar, even if it's with a chair. As far as...
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, who's the one backstage that in the past 2 years has been like, I know what'll be the linchpin for this rivalry, low blows.
Specifically with Lesnar.
Well, it's been Lesnar, it's been the AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura stuff. Like, there's been a lot of things where it's basically just like low blows is the feud.
So was it like 4 or 5 years ago that Austin was like, why did Cesaro tell me low blows are banned? And I guess somebody decided to unban them and make them the catalyst for major feuds. And hey, how do you get a guy down? Well, just keep him nuts. And I texted you guys this, I'm like, Lesnar needs to wear a cup or something, and I would get a huge pop for me if like somebody tries to hit him and it doesn't work because he's got a cup.
And then you get the close up of him doing that laugh.
Yeah, because how many times do you hit this guy in the nuts?
Even better if he's wearing like the chastity belt from Men in Tights and it actually hurts the person because it's solid steel.
What did you think, Hel?
The match was boring, every Corbin matches. I don't know what it is about Corbin, because Corbin technically is not bad in the ring. He's actually gotten a lot better in the whole year. But it's just, every time I watch him, it's just a case of, I don't care what you're doing, and anything you do, anything you say, I just don't want you there. And I'd rather it was anybody else at that point. And it must just be down to a load of overexposure. The fact that, and it's not even the fact that, like, because everyone's on the show for a week, and there's other people that I still want to have in the main event scene. Just the fact that he's always been in and around the main event scene for too long. Whether it's like as the acting general manager, or Kurt Angle's assistant, or as a constable, then you have like now as the main event heel. It's like, go away for a little bit, go away for a couple of months and come back, and then we'll see what it is. But it's just a case of, he just doesn't do anything for anybody, it feels. Because as soon as he was on the offense of this match, the crowd just completely died.
Well, do you think that this is kind of something that we had talked about before, X-Pac heat? Do you think that it's sort of just changed over to Baron Corbin heat?
Well,
Yeah.
I think it's just a case of he's got the same heat that the Forgotten Sons have got. Only in NXT, they use the heat the Forgotten Sons have to try and tease the audience thinking that, oh, he's never going to actually win. They're never actually going to win the big one or anything like that. We'll just use that because we know that you don't actually like these guys. And not because we book them really well as heels, it's because you just genuinely don't care about them. Whereas Vince sees that kind of heat and thinks, well, this guy's the best heel we've got. And he's going to push him to that effect. I don't think he'll actually end up winning the Universal Championship when he gets another opportunity. But he's still getting these like big matches out of it. And that's not a position he should be in right now.
Other things I want to note from this match, specifically the beginning. Rollins' gear looked cool. Burn It Down looked so much cooler with Fire Pyro. That was
we
like,
gotta talk Pyro.
what a cool thing to do, right? Burn it down and flames shoot up from the stage. Even Corbin had like smoke or haze, and it looked better. It made the presentation so much better.
That is the one thing that, as much as they kept saying this is going to be the equivalent or exceed WrestleMania, this is the one thing that I felt actually came off as being WrestleMania-like. And it's so much better to see like this big stage, the pyro, and the entrances that were amped up quite a bit compared to what it normally would be. And that was one of my major highlights of the night. If not, actually, I mean, my favorite part of the whole night was an entrance, and we'll talk about that later. But that was so much better.
I think in regards to the cash in, this makes both Lesnar and Heyman look like absolute bumbling fools.
Yes.
Because it's, I mean, there's two areas. It's a mixture of the fact that Rollins, well, Heyman just like falls over while trying to get into the ring, so he looks like an idiot immediately. Lesnar looks like an idiot because he decides to stare at the briefcase rather than try and deal with Rollins immediately. They look like double idiots because Lesnar could have beaten Rollins for the title on Raw and chose not to do it because he was waiting specifically for this night to do it and completely fucked up. Yeah, completely fucked up in the process because Rollins just low-blowed him and beat him to death with a chair before curves on him into his own briefcase. And then Lesnar didn't even have the guts or the nerve to try and interfere in the Kofi Kingston match later in the night to try and cash in at that point. It just makes him look like a complete dick. It basically looks like he doesn't know what he's doing, really.
Well, do you guys believe the thing that I believe, which is that they did this first because Brock wanted to get on a plane and leave immediately?
I didn't even think about that, but yeah, I don't blame him in that regard.
Look what happened at WrestleMania. That's what the report was. I mean, that went on first, so that way he could leave. Like, it does not shock me at all if that's the case. And if we see some kind of news reports about that, you heard it here first.
It makes Rollins look like a weaker champion because he continuously opens these shows. Like WrestleMania, he's the Royal Rumble winner, fighting the biggest box office draw, supposedly, that the company has, and he's opening the show. Same thing here, when you knew that Lesnar could have been a draw for the night. And yeah, but Lesnar does what he wants to do. I have to agree with Callum. I didn't even think about that. They really do look like jackasses, both of them. Mostly because apparently Brock Lesnar, if he's not just killing everybody, he looks like an idiot. Because last time he wasn't running through everybody, he couldn't even stand on his own 2 feet in the ring with Goldberg at any point in time. It's like that again, except Rollins is actually outsmarting him and not outpowering him.
I'm just annoyed that this didn't just throw the money in the bank away, and now they're going to keep dragging this out. And
Yeah, and now he's dragged out with a guy who looks worse than he did coming into the show. Like, I know they've taken Lesnar well enough anyway throughout the years, but he now looks worse than he was going into it.
yeah, and for what though? That's the thing. Like, I know that part of the philosophy that's going on in WWE right now is this is an interesting thing, at least to them. Like, it might not be to anybody else, it might not be to certain people, it might frustrate the hell out of me, but somebody, Vince McMahon, and or other people, because it could be like I'm done, it could be Triple H, even, it could be whatever. Some people think this is an interesting thing to keep saying. What if he cashes in? Oh, look at that, he didn't, but try to tune in next week and stuff. And I'm really curious to see if there's anybody that is trying to make the argument of, yeah, but we've done this enough times by now that we can see that the ratings aren't really reflecting that. And it's kind of like, well, we've already had 3 years, 4 years, whatever worth of this Brock Lesnar thing anyway, so once we eventually pull the trigger, it's not going to be a good idea. And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, and trying to at least make that argument where if everybody's just going, oh, it's great, Brock Lesnar cashing in and not cashing in, it's going to be something to tune him in the next time, and let's have Stephanie McMahon cut a promo about how she doesn't like what's going on and that she's going to address it on Monday Night Raw just for us to change our minds again, and whatever. And it really, like, I hate to harp on this again, but it's like, what happened with that continuity script supervisor job? Like, it bugs me so much.
I don't think it's something that people aren't saying. I'm sure there are quite a few writers who are at least trying to say, hey, let's not do this, let's do something else. But at the end of the day, Vince knows that it's Brock's the biggest draw, or at least he feels that way in his mind. And yeah.
It just annoys me. And I said it before during this, that killed this pay-per-view for me. And I feel like, since that didn't end up happening and everything, if I were to go back and rewatch the matches that I wasn't into, I probably would enjoy them more. But I mean, for instance, the very next match was the Intercontinental Championship match. It was Finn Balor in the whole demon shtick against Andrade, and I barely watched it. So I don't know if it was good or not. Was it?
I think this is one of those matches where if it was in front of a different crowd and Balor wasn't in the demon paint, this would have been a 4-star match, I'd say. I think they did a lot of good stuff. But I think it dragged a little bit because I think they were trying to go a bit longer than it should have gone. Maybe it went about 3 to 4 minutes too long. But the stuff like the Impaler DDT off the top rope was really cool. Andrade like doing the back elbows and Balor trying to withstand it and like get back up from it was really cool. But yeah, just case like I don't think the crowd was super into it after what previously happened, and the fact that Balor was wearing the face paint made the end result too predictable. And it's one of the things that I harp on about so much, and I know that a lot of people agree with me in this regard. Just a case of they talk about in commentary saying the demon face paint is about intimidation, it's about getting mind games, it's about it gives Balor an edge against his opponents. And then the question that always is asked is why doesn't he wear the face paint every match?
Or why do you not get to see that in the matches?
Yeah.
Like, with Undertaker matches, you see people do things like when he sits up, people go like, oh shit, and they back away and they get scared and everything, and you don't really get to see that much in the Finn Balor matches, even when he's in the demon paint.
I mean, all it needs is just Finn Balor to have one promo or one sentence even, just saying an explanation. Even if that explanation is, I'm comfortable in my own skin, I want to prove I can win matches in my own skin, but sometimes I know that I need to bring the demon out to try and get myself like that next level of like mental edge, or like try and expose the fragility of my opponents. Something to that effect, but there's never been an explanation, and that's one of the biggest issues in all WWE, right? Is that they do things for the sake of doing them, they don't tell us why they're doing them. And they don't have to hit us over the head with it, but they could just allude to it a little bit.
It would even be a decent means to say something like, it takes a lot out of him. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
kind of like, well, when I let that inner part of me, I always try to fight that part of me, and sometimes I just have to let it out. And when I let it out, it's really exhausting because it's kind of like pushing down all your fears and letting them bubble up to the surface. But like, I mean, you can turn that into a whole like psychological examination type thing, and people would identify with that because there's a lot of people that have like road rage and shit. You know, like
If I let that sort of anger and frustration out for too long, it starts to impact my personal life and things like that. It's like it starts affecting the people that I actually care about around me because I can't come back to just being who I am.
it's hard for me to snap out of the demon once I get into that mindset.
Just a segment where he does that, or a video package where he just talks about that would be perfect, and then I'd be totally happy with the demon character from that point forward. Totally on board with it.
Like Rob had suggested about Andrade pulling on the Sombra mask. Like, imagine how great of a little twist that would be for him to be like, you think you're the only one that's got like a, you know, this other mode that they can turn themselves into? Well, look at my mask. This is whatever. And once I put this on, I bring on this kind of mentality, and I'm gonna beat your ass at Stomping Grounds because I'm assuming that this is just gonna be a rematch at Stomping Grounds.
Yeah, and it's gonna be 2 out of 3 falls, but you can't be the demon because you need to be the man. Like
I'm just imagining now that he's like the little kid in a playground. He's like, but you can't be the demon because I called them demons.
it's kind of like, okay, we're gonna go again in Mortal Kombat, but you cannot pick Liu Kang. Like,
Well, they can't do freeze and uppercut at Sub-Zero. That's not fair. I called no freezing. No, my job. Like, I'm lagging the base.
The difference with the Stomping Grounds one is that he'll have Selena Vega in his corner.
Yeah, and that way she'll help him win, and then he'll win the title, and they'll just be like, well, fuck it, like, you know, we'll just have him wait. We talked about this in the predictions preview thing. It's just like, well, let's just do the match, and then we can do the other match, a rematch 2 weeks later. We'll have the title change then, and if you don't like it, fuck you. That kind of thing.
I would say that at the very least, this demon entrance was a step up from a lot of the most recent ones he's had on the WWE roster.
Very much so. I think those entrances that they've normally been doing are quite literally put you in face paint, maybe give you like a red filter, and that's it.
Yeah, whereas this one it had like the full shebang of like other little demons surrounding Balor when he just rises up from the stage wearing a giant robe, crawls down to the ring, does his thing where he grabs the title which is laying down on the ramp and he picks it up like Gollum picks up the ring. Like that's a cool entrance.
Yeah, that was actually one of my highlights of the night.
It'd probably go down as one of the better entrances of the year because I didn't see any real entrances that stood out this year at WrestleMania.
I had a couple written down, but this and one other throughout the night ended up being my list of like, all right, these are very much candidates to be the best entrance of the year.
I didn't talk too much about the match because Callum nailed it the entire time. I'm thinking, boy, if they were just in California, this fucking match would be super hot and one of the best matches on the show. I thought that DDT from the top rope looked fantastic. I don't know why he chose to break that out first time here. And yeah, great match, wrong crowd, but at least the crowd was super into the demon, which is what they needed to do. So I can't call it a miss, but it's definitely not a hit.
After that, we had Roman Reigns against Shane McMahon, and Shane McMahon won that by pinfall after a Claymore kick from Drew McIntyre, which I read this up on the Bleacher article, and I was going to echo it in shorter form. It's very annoying to me when I can look back on many, many months of programming and see that everything was essentially booked with this philosophy of, yeah, but it's going to lead somewhere. And then you start seeing that it's not leading anywhere. Because Shane McMahon won the World Cup tournament, and it was stupid. But everything was, oh, hold on, it's going to lead somewhere. Don't worry about it. We'll piggyback off of this on Survivor Series. Then Survivor Series went down, and it was awful. And it was like, oh, well, that sucked, but don't worry, we were doing this because it's going to go somewhere. And they promptly said, that doesn't fucking matter, we're just going to ignore it. And then we did the whole thing with The Miz, and they did the tag titles, and the tag titles, winning them was like, yeah, but this is going to lead somewhere, don't worry, it's going to lead to WrestleMania. And then once we did the whole thing with WrestleMania, then Shane McMahon won, and it was like, yeah, but it's going to lead somewhere. And it led to the steel cage match, Shane McMahon won, and it's like, yeah, but it's going to lead until Roman Reigns. And now that Roman Reigns lost this one, then it's like, yeah, but it's all to lead up to Drew McIntyre. So you mean to tell me that they're fucking in November, and they're booking this World Cup tournament, and this is a two-pronged process. It's one direction or the other thing. Either they planned that this is where they would end up going, which all this was all supposed to just set up Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre at Stomping Grounds in a meaningless match, in which case, who the fuck planned that? That's awful. Or number two, the most likely option, they didn't plan any of this out, and they just keep changing it. And when you keep changing things, and you build it on this idea that the next thing's going to be where this is leading to, and the next thing is whatever, you become the boy who cried wolf. And there are so many TV shows, and you would think the people that are hired based off of their TV knowledge of like having worked on different shows, that they would understand this. How many TV shows have gone down over the past decade or so since something like Lost, where they built up this idea of we're leading to something, but we're going to keep changing it on the fly, and once we get to our finale, everybody goes, well, that was stupid, and I wasted all that time. You can't do that. If you want to build up to something, you have to have a plan, and you have to follow through with it. And if it ends up being bad, at least you followed through with your plan.
You know what? To equate it to TV shows, that's why I was actually surprised at how good the Big Bang Theory set was. Because at least it made sense. And I know you, Tony, and I know you well enough to know that you don't think for a second that in November they thought that even what they did at the Royal Rumble was a plan.
Not at all. That's why I was like, if they try to say, well, we were all working towards this big plan, it's like, well, your plan sucked. But it's obvious that this wasn't the big plan. And that means if you keep changing things on the fly, you have to change it for the better. You can't just change it for the sake of changing it. And this whole Shane McMahon thing is like, okay, well, the big build-up was all this, and you keep doing all these things because you want Roman Reigns to beat Drew McIntyre? No, that's not good. That's not worth it. Didn't we just have a podcast with Bruce Pritchard talk about the idea that they had set up this whole thing with with Triple H and The Rock, and they beat Sting because they wanted to make it better for The Rock, and then it didn't work? Don't you learn your lessons? Ever? Again, we're looking at Brock Lesnar, so no.
I think that if, depending on what the next Saudi show is, Shane McMahon taking a world title match at that Saudi show. Because they're going to now try to build up this thing of, well, this is where he became the best in the world. And he defeated Roman Reigns here. Nobody defeats Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns defeated cancer. Shane McMahon defeated Roman Reigns. You know why? Because leukemia is good, but it's not the best in the world. And it's just like, I don't understand why in 2019 we're talking about Shane McMahon, who, by the way, has wrestled on every pay-per-view this year. Why?
Has he really? Wow. Yeah, Money in the Bank, WrestleMania,
Elimination Chamber,
Fastlane. Wow. It's just like, it's for what? Like, where's this going? Is this because you cut a promo a couple months ago about how the Authority wasn't going to be a heel faction thing anymore, and you decided that one of your 15 ideas that you've abandoned was that, and that you really desperately need at least one heel McMahon at all times? Like,
well, no, the obvious answer is that the ratings are tanking, and the only thing that Vince knows that he can rely on to improve the ratings is to involve his family. Because that's what he believes was driving force behind the huge ratings in the Monday Night Wars and any other point in time where WWE's had good ratings is because the man's the best characters in the company. And sometimes that may be the case, but it's just a case they're so overexposed now that it doesn't work anymore. And Shane, I understand your point about changing their minds. I think the idea was with him winning the best in the world tournament that it was always going to lead to a match with him at WrestleMania. I believe that was always going to be their plan. I just don't think they envisioned at that point in time that Shane would end up winning that feud Shane McMahon. He shouldn't be beating Roman Reigns, even if he has Drew McIntyre helping him to win it. Because you know that Roman Reigns is going to face Drew McIntyre at Stomping Grounds, and Roman Reigns is going to beat Drew McIntyre.
That's the big issue that I had with it. Is it's like this is leading up to Drew McIntyre taking the pin. Why? He's the one you should be actually building. He's the one that you could protect out of the bunch. Have Shane lose. You know?
I mean, that was the hilarious thing about the entire situation. It was like Corey Graves was talking about when Drew McIntyre was coming out of the ring that Drew McIntyre knows how to get ahead in life. He sides himself with the members of the Authority and stuff like that. And I just thought, has Drew McIntyre had a singles championship match since he joined the main roster?
He's had a single important win.
He's won the tag team championships. That's it. Like, has he actually done anything? You know, the biggest wins he's had are Dean Ambrose on his way out.
And that was one of those written in the stone types of things anyway. Like, McIntyre didn't win the Royal Rumble. He didn't win anything like a championship. He hasn't won any kind of like number one contender type matches to put him in a really strong spot. Like, McIntyre's been this guy that they brought up with the whole Dolph Ziggler thing as like, oh, you better watch out. And it's been a long enough time now that it's like, oh, well, what am I watching out for?
He's gone from being a surefire world champion to being in the exact same position he was when he first entered the company, which is Vince McMahon's chosen one and a lackey to the top like authority figures.
Yeah. Do you think that that's because they have to prove themselves right? Almost like the XFL. Like, my initial idea will get over in the end because fuck you. And typically, I don't even think that pessimistically, but when you look at a guy like Drew McIntyre and how they didn't just pull the trigger with him immediately, or why they didn't just pull the trigger with even, we mentioned Lashley beating Roman last year, how he has ended up being nothing special. What is it with these talents? You have such a stacked roster. I don't understand why Shane McMahon just beat the equivalent of John Cena. I haven't seen a match this stupidly ended since Laurinaitis beat Cena, and that went nowhere as well. You know?
It's just a bothersome situation because it's like, again, like, imagine you go back in time to November and they're sitting around the writers' room and they're like, let's book this World Cup tournament. What do we do with it? Well, we want to do Shane McMahon versus The Miz at WrestleMania. How about Shane McMahon does this and we can slowly turn The Miz babyface and we can do a tag team thing, whatever. Imagine going back in time and being like, so the end result of this is going to be that Drew McIntyre loses to Roman Reigns on a C-level pay-per-view. That's where you guys are leading. And to see if they would go, oh, that sounds great. Or if they would go, oh, that sounds like shit. Why are we doing that? And you can't do it because obviously time travel is not a real thing, or if it is, I'm not aware of it. I guess I'll have always been aware of it. I don't know how that works. It's the type of thing that, like, you shouldn't have to go like, well, in hindsight, we fucked up by doing that. Just don't make these mistakes. Now that you know that this is where you were heading, don't do it. Don't book Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre at Stomping Grounds as we can have Shane McMahon win, and then that way it can put the heat on Drew McIntyre, and then that way we can have Roman Reigns win, and then isn't everything well in the world? No, it isn't. Like, there's nothing. Drew McIntyre gets nothing out of losing to Roman Reigns in 2 weeks. Roman Reigns gets nothing out of beating Drew McIntyre in 2 weeks because it's Roman Reigns. He doesn't need to beat anybody, but at the same time, you shouldn't put him in a position where he needs to get a win back. And giving Shane McMahon all this buzz for 9 months has served no purpose. So we spent 9 months for the Miz to look like crap, Shane McMahon to get a big boost, Roman Reigns to take a roundabout way to beat somebody who doesn't need to get beaten. Yay! What the fuck? And so it's like, that's one of my biggest disappointments of the night, was just kind of like, I'd rather have the predictable, stupid, all right, he just beats Shane McMahon, we just move on, than to drag things out into worse scenarios.
I genuinely have to ask the question now. Do you think Shane's winning the World Championship this year?
It wouldn't shock me.
I'm telling you, he's going to fight. Now that I know, spoiler everybody, that Kofi is still somehow champion, I think he takes on Kofi.
No, it'll be Seth. Takes on.
I don't think he's going to win a world championship, but it would not shock me at all if he fights for it.
Yeah, he'll fight for it.
I don't know, which one do you think he'll fight for, Tony?
Universal.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, why? Because Raw? Or just because Seth?
Well, because Seth is linked to Roman.
And Roman is basically on Monday Night Raw anyway.
Yeah, and I think Seth would probably be the person that comes up to Shane and says, "You're not the best in the world because I am," that sort of thing. And then they'll build the match of that, saying, "Oh, I beat your buddy Roman, and so I could easily beat you as well." And then they'll just, I think that match will happen at SummerSlam.
Well, hold on a minute. Do you think, knowing that we have Baron Corbin is feuding with officials, is Shane McMahon the special referee for Baron Corbin, Seth Rollins at Stomping Grounds, which will then lead to Seth Rollins, Shane McMahon at SummerSlam?
How many more events are in between? There's Extreme Rules.
Extreme Rules.
Nothing else? I think all the rest of them are other ones like the AEW shows, obviously, and TakeOver and everything else like that, right?
Yeah.
So they only need to kill time for July, essentially. And if they do something like that, they could do another thing where it's like, all right, Stomping Grounds, maybe he's involved in some kind of ending, and actually, you know what? They might end up doing that at Extreme Rules. They might have an Extreme Rules match with Shane as a special guest referee. Something else happens with Baron Corbin, and it's being Corbin versus Rollins 3 times in a row.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
I want to see that kind of stuff too, because it's like, do I want to see Shane McMahon versus Seth Rollins? No, I don't.
I'd like to see a 99 Shane versus Seth Rollins, baby.
I think Shane is significantly better now, at least doing it. That's saying a lot considering how bad he is still. But it would be, I guess it's another test for Seth Rollins to try and see if he can carry Shane to a very good match. But, you know, it shouldn't be happening anyway. He should not be in a position where he's fighting the top guys of the company.
Especially when you've got so many people that you can be depending on to be main event talent, and you're in a scenario where a lot of people feel like they're undervalued and underappreciated and underutilized. Like, I bet you, if you pull the quote-unquote WWE universe, and I'm not talking about just the IWC or the smarks that are on the internet talking about stuff or whatever you want to say, I think if you pull the actual audience as well, and you say, what would you rather see at SummerSlam? Would you rather see us build up to a Shane McMahon, Seth Rollins thing? Would you rather see Brock Lesnar cash in Money in the Bank and have a rematch with Seth Rollins? Or would you rather see us spend those 2 months and build up Cesaro and have Cesaro versus Seth Rollins? I bet you more people would say Cesaro.
Yeah, I think they just want something different at this point.
Exactly, that's the thing. They want something different. You can't do the same shit over and over and over again and be like, we're giving you something different because on this card we had our truth runner like an idiot or something like, you know what I mean? Like that. You can't dangle a set of keys in front of people and change the whole environment. You're just doing whatever that peripheral vision is for that one shot. And I hate it so much. And this is the type of thing that, like, I barely watched this match and I hated it, and I hate exactly where they're going. And I don't want Roman Reigns to win, and I don't want Drew McIntyre to win. I just don't want that match now. And that's nothing that's a fault of Roman Reigns or Drew McIntyre, or for that matter, Shane McMahon.
What was the bigger botch to come back, Daniel Bryan or Roman Reigns?
Bryan.
Yeah, Daniel Bryan. They could have done a lot with that one. At least Roman, you know he's going to recover eventually.
I don't know, they are really wasting their time with Roman Reigns. And
I think that they're hesitant to push him too much because they think that if they do that, they're going to get everybody to turn on him. Yet at the same time, they refuse to not push him. So they're kind of like that person who's like at the pool and doesn't want to jump in yet, so they're just kind of sitting there tipping their toe over and over for 45 minutes.
Well, essentially because they don't think they can give him the world championship just yet. They think that the next best thing is to give him a feud with McMahon. Because
Roman Reigns.
Yeah, that's the biggest box side of things. The idea that he's now getting ridiculously overexposed.
Well, my problem with that is they did this already, and this is what I didn't like about the Roman stuff with Lesnar last year. They crowned him perfectly in 2016, even with the McMahon, but they crapped all over that just to try to rebuild him up again, and now people aren't interested because it doesn't feel as fresh as they did the first time he punched Vince McMahon, who was a special referee in his match with Sheamus, and beat Triple H at WrestleMania. They crowned him already. Why did they keep going back to the drawing board? Roman should have been the guy.
Well, the argument is that Roman should never have been the guy because the fans didn't want him as the guy.
No, the fans wanted him as the guy. They just got pissed because they realized, oh shit, they're about to give him the shoving him down our throat treatment. So they wanted him as the guy.
The fans wanted the Roman Reigns that was in the Shield as the guy.
Yeah, and then
they didn't want the Roman Reigns that WWE wanted as
the guy.
They made
John Cena 2.0.
Right. And WWE fucked up Roman Reigns. That made Roman Reigns have to carry that guilt on his, not that guilt, but that pressure on his shoulders. They didn't want to do anything for the longest time other than say, we are right, you are wrong, deal with it. So everybody fought back, because that's what happens when you give people that kind of thing. It's irresistible force meets a movable object. It's the same thing of just being like, we are stubborn, screw you. And then the fans go, well, we're stubborn as well, screw you. And then nobody wins. And then you wait long enough, and then it takes the leukemia announcement to turn things around, and
you don't even capitalize.
It's just a case of, I think Roman is in a very terrible situation right now in the case of he needs a real shift in his character to really, like, not just progress, but at least like change his trajectory a little bit. But the thing is, they can't send him heel because he just recovered from cancer. They could, but people say, oh my god, they've turned the cancer survivor heel. But then again, the guy who is like Danny Bryan as a heel is a pro-environmentalist, which is trying to tell us how we're destroying the planet, and he's the bad guy. So
it's the micromanagement of what the current era is, because if this were 30 years ago, then it would be a different story.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns would be able to be himself, and he would figure out a way to get over. And that's what happened with Steve Austin. That's what happened with Shawn Michaels, and that's what happened with Bret Hart. Because Bret Hart is a completely different character than Steve Austin, and yet they were both super popular.
And for whatever reason, there was a real bond with the Shield guys, and we talked about it in February. They could have been gone for 2 weeks, but the minute they put the fists in, place blows, because you feel that, like, oh, this is real. Now Roman's going to be a real badass, and there's just something about that, and they need to find that magic with Roman as an individual.
And I guarantee you, him beating Drew McIntyre again, just like he did in a random pointless match at WrestleMania, and beating him at Stomping Grounds is not going to find that magic again. And it's going to be like, well, we did all the Shane McMahon stuff just for the Miz to look bad, McMahon to look good for no reason, McIntyre to look bad, and Roman Reigns to be lateral.
I just don't want them to hold it off and drag it out all the way until the Royal Rumble, where they feel like, yeah, well, it's the road to WrestleMania, and the big dog is ready to take his top spot back.
It'll happen.
Because that's too long.
It's going to happen, and it's going to be against Brock Lesnar.
yeah,
It's just going to happen. Like, just, yeah. Well, speaking about inevitabilities, the handicap match between Lars Sullivan and Lucha House Party, guess what? Lucha House Party ended up beating the shit. Now, it's kind of funny that they decided to go with the disqualification, and then Lars Sullivan beats them all down instead of just like a pinfall, but there was no need to watch this.
This must be the greatest atrocity that's ever performed in Saudi Arabia. The greatest atrocity that's ever occurred in Saudi Arabia. No. But, like, this was his first match. I know people talk about who were already down on Lars Sullivan, saying that, oh, he's going to be another Vladimir Kozlov. They didn't give him a chance with this match. He doesn't stand a chance. He is dead on arrival. I knew he was dead on arrival as soon as he entered the ring, and I saw he had the word Lars on the back of his trunks. It's like, oh wow, that's your name. It's like, he didn't have those words on the back of his trunks in NXT, did he? I'm not imagining it. He just had red trunks. It's like, why do you need to have your fucking branding on there? Like, what?
Because that way, when a month from now Vince McMahon doesn't like the name Lars Sullivan and wants him to just be Lars, that he's got it on his ass. It's going to happen. He's still going to be Lars.
But the main roster, I don't know if it's the writers or Vince, whatever, they have to touch something, because otherwise they didn't create it.
But don't touch his ass. It's fucking fine. But it's just like this match is just an absolute atrocity in every stretch of the imagination. Lars Sullivan is busted open early in the match, bleeding from the mouth, which makes him look weak because he's got busted open by a bunch of like tiny Mexican wrestlers. He has to sell for them as well during this match. When this match, realistically, if any booker with half a brain cell was in charge of this thing, they would know that what you have to do is Lars Sullivan just destroys them after 3 minutes, gets a pinfall, and that's the start of his like build up to being this huge monster heel. But no, his first match in, he's selling for 3 people that are half his size.
And let's be honest, I mean, that whole complete decimation thing is still just blah, because it's just, okay, we get it, he's the guy that you're pushing, can we just move on to the part where you're actually like doing it? Like,
I did get that point, but that was that's how they built up Braun Strowman as well.
Right. If they do it in a fun way, it's a different story. Like Ryback doing that kind of stuff was super fun.
Yeah, and you could have made this fun as well. Like just had them flying around Lars Sullivan, always catching them and throwing like powerbombing one of them onto the outside onto 2 of them or something like that. You could have made this an interesting squash. But what you do is, and it's the pièce de résistance. You have all 3 Lucha House Party members gang up on Lars Sullivan, beat him down and get themselves disqualified. And then they walk away, having got disqualified, acting like they've won the match, and Lars Sullivan comes back and destroys them. Just because like, yeah, but okay, they destroyed him afterwards, but the damage is already done. He didn't even get to pin one of these guys.
He doesn't look good coming out of this.
No.
And, like, more so than when he was going into it. They don't look any better out of it. And if they would have gone down any other way, it still wouldn't have been useful. Like, this was a no-win situation.
What was the mindset of protecting the Lucha House Party from taking a pinfall in this match?
It wouldn't shock me at all if it was just to do it again.
But it's real, guys.
Yeah, they'll do it Raw.
But it's real. They're mad that he attacked them, so they're going to use their numbers advantage. They don't care about being disqualified because they have pride. It's real, is what I imagine the defense would do.
Also, there's the obvious annoyance of the fact that it's 3 Raw superstars taking on SmackDown superstar, but I guess, like, the wildcard rules have ruined everything that's got, but I'll always bring that stuff up just because it's so fucking cheap.
But it's fucking ridiculous, yeah.
The wildcard rule was ruined the very first time that they mentioned that it was a rule, because it was 3 people, no, 4 out of the 5 people, but the 1 person doesn't count, and then a week later it became 10 people. It's just, hey, we're having the Raw Super Show again.
Also, speaking of stupid rules, how did Archer get onto the plane but not get into any sort of actual match that was going on in this?
Your guess is as good as anybody else's on the internet.
I mean, my guess is
he didn't fly over there.
Yeah, my guess is that they just had him on the plane in the process of it, and they just filmed it while the plane was still stationary on the tarmac, and then he got off because he can't actually fly over to Saudi Arabia.
100%.
Yep.
That's exactly what it was. And that's another negative for this was, they couldn't have just had somebody else be the champion. Because I get the point is, like, we're making this like the R-Truth thing, but, I mean, what's going to hurt them from having somebody else? Like, Jinder Mahal could have been the champion.
And lost it during this match somewhere.
He could have lost it to somebody else, and then somebody else could have won it at another point like that, and then on Monday, R-Truth could have won it back. If he just wanted to give it back to R-Truth, like,
Won it back over the weekend. Just shoot the video for social media.
you could have made it a like full circle type thing where they show them landing, and it's like maybe Jinder Mahal's still the champion or something like that, and Jinder Mahal's getting like he's leaving the airplane, and R-Truth is waiting on the tarmac, and he attacks him, and he wins the title. It could
I
have
want
been
to add to that by saying R-Truth is in the exact same position that Jinder left him in because he just laid there for a day or two.
even fucking better. Like, you just make it goofy, and you just have him do that, and it's like, okay, he waited that whole time, and you can even, like, lampshade it by having Carmella be like, you were here the whole time, and he could just be like, yeah, I really gotta pee. Or, like, where be like, you waited here for, like, 2.5 days, and you just kind of, like, what the hell, R-Truth? And it's like, well, because he's a goofy character, and, like,
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's better than nothing. They at least did that, so it's kind of like a poor man's attempt to be like, look, we're doing something with the 24/7 title, but,
Yeah.
But back to Lars, you guys compared him to Ryback and Braun, and one of the things that I noticed in those two situations was they brought back jobbers, and they both used just local jobber talent to make it even funnier, because here are these nobodies, you're not killing your roster, who are running away screaming for Braun Strowman and Ryback. But here, it's the Lucha House Party, so you gotta beat Lars down because you can't shit on your entire Cruiserweight roster, you know?
Well, I mean, is it that hard to just try something a little bit different once in a while by doing? But I just thought of this one you were saying, so this is why I'm like, this is why it's not that hard. You have these jobbers that you don't know fight Lars Sullivan, and he beats the living hell out of them so much that every one of them keeps coming back injured. And you have Triple H or whoever talk to Lars Sullivan and go, look, dude, like, you're really, like, you're injuring people, and this isn't good. And then that's where he can be all like, oh, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to injure everybody. And then even a guy like a Heath Slater can just go up and be like, we don't like having somebody who's got that kind of mentality on the roster. That's like, that's not cool, man. Like, whatever. And he can be down fucking Heath Slater and start something with that, whatever. Like, I'm giving you 5 weeks worth of material.
Yeah.
It's better than advertising him and having him not do anything for 4 months.
Yeah, it's definitely better than having him have his first match and handicap match where he doesn't even win by pinfall submission, where he wins by being beaten up too much by the other opponents.
It's the same company that gave Ryback the loss at WrestleMania and said, but he'll hit the movie afterward, and that way it'll mean something. Then we'll turn him heel.
The same movie you couldn't hit 5 seconds ago. You could hit but it makes you feel like an asshole, because when they were doing the whole Lars Sullivan has stage fright, don't worry, Lars is coming, it's gonna be badass, it's gonna be great, and here we are.
That's love. Well, that took us into Triple H versus Randy Orton. The crowd was really, really digging it. I couldn't really get into it. I was still annoyed because of the whole Brock Lesnar thing. Again, I told you that it ruined everything for the whole night, essentially for me. But I'm glad that Orton won. I'm glad the crowd seemed to be really, really into it.
Yeah, the crowd, again, loves these guys. They love their Triple H's, Randy Orton's, the guys of that era. I wanted to enjoy this match so bad, but it felt like it was moving in slow motion. It just felt slow and long, and I messaged you guys this. I love Triple H and want him to deliver every time, and then I go, oh wait, he's 50 and he's had like 5 injuries. He can't. And then I get sad.
I went into this match knowing that it wasn't going to be that special. Apparently, I'm one of the minority that thinks that, because from the reactions that I checked out on Twitter and stuff like that, people seem to actually enjoy this match. I thought these two excelled and thought it was the best match of the night and all that stuff. I just watched it going, like, Randy Orton's had this headlock on for about 4 minutes now. And again, it's always typical Triple H things. This match would have been great. I mean, I don't say great, but it would have been really good if it would have been about 15 minutes. But no, it goes 26.
Yeah,
What's the longest match?
it went
No,
so long.
actually, the Battle Royal was the longest one.
No, I'm pretty sure this one was the Battle Royal.
Yeah, okay, this probably was the longest match. But it's just like, why do you, at this point in your career, what are you trying to prove? I mean, he's already compensated for something by the size of the motorcycle that he keeps driving down the ring.
What the fuck is with that? Hold on.
What is with this motorcycle? Because why is this the type of thing that I crapped on it at WrestleMania? I said I didn't really like it the first time he did it, and one of the things that's fun about WrestleMania is seeing the new entrances, and he just did basically the same entrance as what he had done the previous year.
No, the biggest 2 years. I'm pretty sure this is like the 4th or 5th time he's done the motorcycle now.
And it's just not that interesting because people. I mean, you had Chuck Palumbo drive a fucking motorcycle down to the ring. Like,
By the
that's
way,
not that special.
It's not the coolest entrance either. The thing goes like, what, 5 miles an hour? It's a slow ass vehicle.
Yeah, he's just coasting. It's not like you're.
Pretty much like the match.
I forgave it. The first year was cool. I was okay with them repeating it the next year, but with Stephanie actually driving as well because she was in the match. The Mad Max thing from WrestleMania I didn't like, and I didn't like this one. I'm beginning to think, okay, Hunter, you just don't want to walk down these long fucking ramps.
But I think just because, like, these two are two very technically proficient, understand the business like the back of their hands. They know they can do this match in their sleep. Perhaps, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did, if I'm completely honest with you. But it's just a case of like, again, it's just put your mindset into if there's any two other people on the roster performing it, they couldn't get away with this match. These two didn't get away with this match because they had enough of a reputation, and the crowd absolutely loved everything they did. They had 2 big exhaustion chants within the first 3 minutes of the match starting. It's like once you know they're in that situation, you basically just do your basic repertoire of stuff, and you're gonna like have an easy night of it. And I think these two actually tried to work hard and tried to have a really good match. And I think I saw someone on Twitter saying that these two are having the type of match they've always wanted to have.
Yeah, that was also Ross Berman on Twitter.
Yeah, and it was just a case of like, I think it actually was, because this is pretty much the same as any Triple H Randy Orton match I've seen before, because it's really boring and I'm not really that invested at all. But it's in front of a crowd that's actually digging it this time, so they probably thought that it was so much better than it actually was. So, but good for them really in that regard. I can't begrudge them for it.
There's some in the ring stuff I want to touch on. Like, I'll go straight to the ending because it sticks up most of my mind. I hate Randy Orton matches because half of them for me are just, no, don't do that. He's clearly going to RKO you. Like, they put themselves up in certain ways. It's like the 619, where nobody goes in the middle of the rope unless they're fighting Ray. And with Randy, they create these distance and these spots. And I'm just like, Hunter, don't run at him. He's gonna drop you. And sure enough, he did. They couldn't even come up with like okay, you blocked the pedigree into the RKO. No, it was just, he's gonna run at him, RKO out of nowhere, because that's what you came for. I was surprised that they had to both kick out of 2 finishers. Don't get it. Don't know why.
It's like WrestleMania.
But I guess. I laughed at the very hulky Triple H trying to do the catapult spot in the corner, like he's still a young dude with long hair, and he just like jumps himself up to the actual post part of the turnbuckle. That was funny to me. And there was a really awkward spot where Orton drop kicks Hunter off the apron, but it seemed like he was going to punch him, and he just punched air, and Orton drop kicked him. It just didn't seem as smooth as it could have been. But as Callum said, we might be in a minority here because everything I saw said, wow, this match kicked ass match of the night.
I still wasn't all that much paying attention to it because I was still just salty about the Brock Lesnar stuff, so I didn't really 100% get invested into it.
I was expecting worse, so I'll give them that much credit, but I still don't think it's definitely not a match I'm going to go back and watch again.
Yeah, I'm going to say that about something else later. We followed that up with Braun Strowman versus Bobby Lashley. I liked that Bobby Lashley had that entrance where it was like him standing on like the pedestal kind of thing, and I liked that Braun Strowman's entrance was like, hey, fuck that pedestal. Because that's kind of like, that's the Braun that I like, where he's just kind of like, just brute force. Wow, nah, not gonna smash things. Like, yeah, do that, Braun. Crowd wasn't really all into this. I thought that it was one of the better things of the night. It's just these two big motherfuckers that were just. Yeah. It's a pointless match that didn't build up well enough, but it was just like. I got more enjoyment out of seeing Braun Strowman do the runaround and bump into Lashley twice than I did out of anything out of like the Sullivan match. You know?
Yeah.
This was frustrating for me. This was. I wanted this match taken off the card because it saved some time. I don't know why they just tread water with Strowman. I don't know why they just tread water with Lashley. But putting them both together when they both need a win, it's just a recipe for disaster. And Strowman looked really weak in terms of those power slams. Did not have the force that they typically do.
I'll take my quote that I got on Twitter. This match was twice as good as the Randy Orton Triple H match from 3 times as short. So, I like the cost matches. What can I say? Just two guys that want to go out there and just outmuscle each other. I like the little elements of it, like the entrances. I like the tell of the tape aspect of it as well because they don't apply that more than as much as they should do, especially with matches this sort of like with these two powerhouses against each other. I thought Lashley looked good for the time he was doing it. I like that they mixed in a bit of like athletic stuff as well, like Strowman rolling through from the like dive attempts and Lashley leapfrogging over him, all that other stuff. It wasn't as smooth as some other matches on the show. Like it definitely wasn't like Balor and Andrade levels of smoothness, but I think it had a good amount of intensity and power. And I think they both actually tried really hard to try and get this match over. So I enjoyed it for what it was worth.
The crowd, once again, very into the Get These Hands. They were so in tune with the product, and that really helped me watching the whole show, but I couldn't care less about this match.
It's almost like Braun Strowman's over. I think they should kind of do something with it.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention Randy Orton won by pinfall. Braun Strowman won by pinfall, just in case anybody needs the results themselves. And that applied as well to Kofi Kingston retaining his WWE Championship by pinfall over Dolph Ziggler in a match that, again, I couldn't really enjoy because I was just sitting there going, when's Brock Lesnar going to show up? When's Brock Lesnar going to show up? Thankfully, I was wrong. I will say that. Even though that means that I'm going to have to keep going on with this whole Money in the Bank Brock Lesnar thing. But I was just like, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And when it didn't, I'll admit, big wave of relief. I still don't like the Brock Lesnar stuff, but that made it to where I could enjoy the next two segments a hell of a lot more than I could enjoy all the stuff that led up to it.
I can sympathize with that, but I felt kind of disappointed by the match, by the way the match ended, by what it's actually building toward. And I love Dolph and Kofi, and I wanted this match to kick ass. And maybe when they do it again in a steel cage at Stomping Grounds, it will kick ass. Because, spoiler, after Dolph lost because of Xavier Woods, he basically said, I want Kofi in a cage.
And you said Dolphin Kofi, by the way. I thought you said Dolphin Kofi.
Yeah, no.
I was just thinking that there's like a dolphin version of
this year, so you can imagine he's pretty rusty.
This is his second, I think.
Yeah, so was a few instances in this match. Dolph doing the Bret Hart.
I've noticed that too.
And yeah, it's just like,
Yeah.
I mean, he's a troll. it's fine because he's been away from the product line. enough, and I can kind of enjoy his matches again and not be so super frustrated. I'm still frustrated by his
because we'd done this on the preview, that I was just going to start the podcast by saying, you should have shot me.
Yeah.
But Wesley didn't catch it, so I couldn't do that. I have one gripe with Ziggler right now, and that's change your gear. His gear for this match was atrocious. It was literally just, you talk about the word Lars on your ass. This is quite weird.